So welcome to the Amsterdam Film Show, the October edition. Sorry we're late. We're going to pick out some of the new releases in the Dutch cinemas this month. As usual, we're not going to tell you about all of the different films, we're going to just pick out some of the ones that we think are special or notable. But you might disagree with us, so tell us, let us know. And if you've seen any of these and you want to share a review, get in touch with us at info@broadcastamsterdam.nl. We'll share our platform with you. And of course, we'll also share some special screenings and film festivals. Amsterdam has a ridiculous number of film festivals, so there's always something to share on that front. And finally, thank you to local thriller writer David Swatling. He's been out seeing loads of films recently, and he's told us what he thinks about the films he's seen. And if you want information on any of the special screenings or events, just go to our website, broadcastamsterdam.nl. So, David Swatling, the Amsterdam Film Show, I want to find out what you've been up to. You've been watching loads of films.
I have been. I've seen more films in the last few weeks than I've seen probably in the last year. It's
Any reason for that?
I don't know, the fall. I'm trying to sort of start a new kind of regime of the way of working and get some new impulses and
creative impulses.
Plus, there are some films that I really wanted to see, so that's part of the reason why. And then I went to see It, which then you talked about on the last film show, and I thought, that was kind of fun to see a film and then to have a few lines, critically as a review because I liked it so much.
So, what did you go to see?
Well, the first one I went to see was a film that actually I've been wanting to see since the spring. It's called 120 BPM. The French title is Battements par minute, or 120 beats per minute, the heartbeat.
Okay, right.
And I heard about it when it played at the Cannes Film Festival in the spring because it was a subject dear to my heart, and it was up for and touted to possibly get the Palme d'Or prize. It didn't. It won the Grand Jury prize and also the Queer Palme because it's a great film about the ACT UP activism during the AIDS crisis in the early 90s in Paris.
Okay.
And, it's a French film.
Yeah.
I wanted to see it so much that I did something I rarely do, which is to go see a film with Dutch subtitles. But because I knew the subject idea, and I wanted to see it so much, it turned out not to be a problem because it's a really incredible movie. The guy who directed it, Oliver Campillo, he was in ACT UP in Paris in the early 90s, so it's really based on his experience, and it's just an incredibly well documented period, an important period. And the film goes in kind of starts in documentary style,
right? But
then it shifts into kind of visual poetry, a lot like a lot of the creative documentaries that you see in IDFA.
Okay.
But this is a feature film. There is a story about a small group of very committed people who are literally fighting for their lives with the AIDS crisis. It's beautifully written. The performances are brilliant. I can't recommend it highly enough. I mean, it's very moving. I have to
Did you cry?
Well, yes, there were, but not at the moments that one would expect. I mean, the end. There's a sequence near the end of the film that's very difficult to watch. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really hard, and it's a long film. It's 2.5 hours long, almost.
Gosh.
But it's so important to sort of bring the human element into these. I mean, we see protests these days. There's a lot of protests. And there's a lot of young people. But for me, it was interesting to see this recreation of a moment in gay history, certainly, when everyone was so young. But the thing is, they were dying. Literally, some of the people who were fighting the struggle, were fighting for their lives, and they didn't make it. Mm-hmm. So, to sort of show what they did and how things were changing at that particular moment, I think it's really important. But it's also really exciting to watch. The scenes the activism, even the meetings where they're discussing what they're going to do and criticizing each other. And, anyone who's ever been to a Dutch meeting where they're having a discussion knows how difficult those things are. But it's just a combination of sometimes comic, sometimes tragic, and sometimes purely poetic. There's some iconic visuals in the film. The boys dancing in the clubs, the scenes on a beach,
Right.
and the River Seine being turned red to represent the blood.
Okay.
It's got some incredible imagery, and I can't recommend it highly enough. It's going to be the French Oscar nominee for Best Foreign Language Film, and I already predict a win.
Okay, we heard it from you first.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's got a bit of a French flavour to it, because although it's a global story, each country would have experienced this period in history very differently.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but certainly in terms of the way that it's presented, and because, for instance, in America they're just beginning to sort of explore the AIDS stories again after all these years, and there's a much more historical look at this, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, whereas European feature making takes, like I said, a more poetic view and allows some sort of breathing space to think about what you've seen, and just some beautiful imagery along the way, and also in this, because it's a feature film, not a documentary, there's the chance to really kind of focus the story and delve into the lives of characters.
So, there was more of a comedic film, Pride, recently. But also I'm thinking of the Dallas Buyers Club had a little bit of humour in it as well, even though it was talking about a serious subject.
Yeah, well, I think that's going to happen because there's, especially in the history of AIDS, there's so much Kafkaesque, dark humor in the frustration of how can people not see this, and the different ways that people had to maneuver to get what they needed, and the cleverness they had to use. Plus, we gay folks are funny.
From the 5th of October, Blade Runner 2049, sci-fi drama. Directed by Denis Villeneuve and stars Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford. Set 30 years after the original cult film, Blade Runners are still around doing the same old thing. One of them, Kay, discovers a secret and feels the need to track down Deckard from the first film for answers. So local star Sylvia Hooks, she was in the Dutch films Tirza and De Storm. She was really good in De Storm. She plays a baddie named Love, and she's got a very high kick. Lots of people say that she's had a standout role, and they've really noticed her from that. So Blade Runner 2049 promises plenty of action and stunning cinematography, but it also poses a central question of what does it mean to be human. So if you like your films with a bit of philosophical thought, it's got that. It's directed by Denis Villeneuve, and I've really liked most of his films. Arrival was one of the most recent ones, and that had a good reception. So he's done well with this, if the reviews are to be believed, and there are masses of 5-star reviews, which is quite unusual, and they can be wrong, but I'm inclined to believe the hype for this one. It's screening at the FC Hyena, the Film Hallen, the Criterion, the Pathé Chain, the Movies, the AFS Museum, but we recommend the IMAX screen at the Pathé Arena. Also from the 5th of October, Loveless, a Russian drama directed, I can't say his name, Andrei Zavaginistev. He's the maker of Leviathan, which was nominated for a foreign film Oscar a few years ago. So the storyline, a divorcing couple have to cooperate when their son goes missing. So far, so domestic. But expect much more. It's also a judgment on modern Soviet society, apparently, and it's very well shot. However, it's screening at the iFilm Museum and the Rialto, but with Dutch subtitles. It's possible. Next, from the 12th of October, Good Time. Drama thriller. Stars Robert Pattinson and Jennifer Jason Leigh. Set all in one night in the grimmest New York City, after a bank robbery goes wrong, career criminal Connie needs to free his vulnerable brother from prison hospital before it's too late. It's screening at the Filmhallen, the Movies, Criterion, Pathé Tuschinski and Pathé City. Let's have a taster.
So I told you about my brother, yeah? I told you about the program he's forced to attend and how he shouldn't be there.
Don't count your chickens before they hatch. Do you understand that?
No. Something happened. I don't know exactly what. My brother's been arrested. He's being held at Rikers Island. You could get killed in there.
The Amsterdam Film Show asked local writer David Swatling what he thought about the film.
By a couple of guys from New York. I'm originally from New York, but because I've been out of the film world for so long, I haven't heard of these guys. They're brothers, the Safdie brothers, Josh and Benny, and they're New Yorkers, born and raised in Queens and Manhattan, and they're really interesting filmmakers. I'm really glad to be introduced to them, although I have to say this film got me so edgy that I left with a huge stomachache, which I'm not sure is a good thing. I think this is not a film for everybody, but it is a kind of a classic bank robber thriller. But they're really inspired by kind of the street movie, like of Martin Scorsese,
Like Taxi Driver.
Yeah. Mean Streets or After Hours, those kinds of films. But although this one in particular actually might remind people a little bit more of something like Dog Day Afternoon, Sidney Lumet, also a New York filmmaker. It's a bank robbery gone bad, where the mentally challenged brother of the bank robber is the one that gets in trouble. And so he spends the rest of the film trying to get his brother out of jail.
Yeah.
And like a lot, there's a certain kind of thriller, which I know well because I wrote one, where someone starts off in a bad situation and everything they try to do to get out of it or to just survive makes the situation worse. And it gets worse. It's like a roller coaster that always is about to go off the rails, and it goes up and it goes just when you think everything's going fine, then it swerves off in a different direction. There are so many twists and turns in this film, it's impossible to even keep track of them, and they're very surprising. But it's because it's a character-driven story.
Okay.
And the main character is played by Robert Pattinson. Now, I'm not a Twilight film kind of guy, so I only know his work from playing Cedric in Harry Potter.
Okay, right.
But he's a very popular young actor. And I think in a role like this, he's trying to sort of show himself as a serious actor, the way Daniel Radcliffe did.
Yeah.
I think he's trying just a little too hard, but I don't really know him outside of this. Whereas I think his fans, the Twilight crowd and some other work that he did, are going to be really taken by his performance, because it's a really strong performance.
Okay.
And certainly nothing like he was doing in Twilight.
But there was an element of, you could kind of see the effort behind it.
Just a little bit. He's doing a kind like Al Pacino in Dog Day Afternoon, but Al Pacino is that kind of explosive character. Yeah. I don't know that he has that kind of explosion in his gut. So he's got to work at it a little bit. Right. And he's getting great reviews for it. So I'm going to say he does a good job trying at it.
Yeah, from the trailer I thought he was unrecognizable.
No, I kept looking at going, I don't see the vampire. At one point he has his hair bleached blonde, and I was like, oh, I see it now. Yeah. But it's a hard ride.
You have to have a tough stomach.
Yeah,
stressful.
And if you're not a fan of low life characters trying to
some people really love that seedy kind of midnight cowboy.
If you like the bad boys, he's a bad boy, and there's lots of bad boys and girls in this picture, and it's just so creepy, you know, and yet it keeps moving. It moves very fast, and part of that is the music. There's this synthesizer music by this, I guess they're kind of a well-known group. I don't know them, but the music won a prize at the Cannes Film Festival as well. So, you know, it just gives it this edgy drive forward. So
it's not necessarily violence or blood or anything.
No, not so much. No, it really is. It's the situation and you know, just someone being trapped and trying desperately to get out, and just everything going wrong. It's the love between the brothers that propels the action of the movie as well. And I guess, you know, written and directed and acted by this brother team, you know, that's something that they know well.
And also from the 12th of October, Borg McEnroe drama. It explores the intense rivalry and differences between the two 80s tennis stars, Bjorn Borg and John McEnroe. It's screening at the movies, Pathé Tuschinski, Pathé City, Film Hallen and Cine Centre. So it's a bit like the 2014 film Rush, which was a bit retro and about two rival racing drivers. But this one doesn't have Chris Hemsworth. And finally, festivals and screenings in Amsterdam. We'll keep it short this month. Lab 111 has got a weekender event coming up. On the 13th of October, part of that event, they have Your Name, a Japanese animation. It's a full premiere and it's nearly sold out. If you want to get in that, tickets are going fast. That's 9:30 on 13th of October. So thanks for joining us on the Amsterdam Film Show. We'll be back next month.